Team 6 ago. Abnormal anchors in divorce court. Oh yeah!
Hello and welcome to News Team 6. I'm baseball announcer Dungaree Chunglebum, filling in for Buck Chutley, our regular anchor, as he is busy practicing social distancing in divorce court. We at the station can get behind this message to the former Mrs. Chutley. Karen, I know you're going through a very hard time right now, and it's not going to be easy, and if you need anybody to talk to, you can always call your old pal Dungaree. So just let me know, Karen. That's right, viewers. I am a scumbag. What's that? I see. We're getting some breaking news. We've got video live. A new virus is attacking the shoreline of New York City. We're going now to a clip. I'm being informed that it is disturbing. If you have children at home, please shield their eyes. Because I'm a baseball announcer, I'm obligated to tell you that this clip is brought to you by W.B. Mason. Who else but W.B. Mason? Absolutely disturbing stuff. Wow, can barely believe that I saw... What's that? I'm being informed that that was a clip from Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, where Godzilla is attempting to rampage through a town to get back his son, Godzuki, who's been kidnapped by Space Godzilla. And it is being used as a metaphor for disease, not a literal representation. Here with more on metaphor and other literary devices is our poetry correspondent, Nerd Dorkley. Nerd?
Hey guys, it's actually not Nerd Dorkley, it's Mr. Benedict. I got you again. I see that some of you have submitted your assignment from yesterday. I'm hoping that I can get all of those from you pretty soon. I'm going to be talking today about a few poetic devices, metaphor and simile, which we've talked about before. I'm going to talk about allusion, which we've also talked about before. Crazy. Some poetic devices like assonance and consonance. Actually, I'll separate those so you guys don't get them mixed up. And of course, the thing that makes all poems poems, line breaks. So, do have a notepad at the ready. There we go. Do have a notepad at the ready to take notes on these. We'll be taking notes on them in just a second. First, I'm going to do something a little fun and a little risky. I'm going to take a look at a poem and read it for the very, very first time, a random poem that I'm going to read and kind of break down how I find meaning in a poem that I've literally never seen before. This will be fun and extremely risky for me because it's possible I won't know what the poem means. Let's go have an adventure, huh? Let's see if your teacher gets defeated. Hey guys, it's Mr. Benedict here. So didn't realize screen record would not also record my voice, so how foolish I was. I headed over to poets.org and found a poem that I had not yet read. They had some featured poems. I just clicked the middle one, Erstling. I'd never heard the word Erstling before, so I figured I'll make it hard for myself and pick a poem that has a title that is a word I've never heard. So let's get together and read this thing for a minute. Erstling. Death is a beige Mercedes sedan. I am 5 and riding in the back, eating small white chocolates, my long, thin body along the butter-soft red leather seat. What I want is to become what I was before the accident. You think I'm a rumor. I move from one world to the next, living inside a mink-lined winter. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. Awesome. I've got no clue what any of that means necessarily, so let's head over to Explain Everything and try to figure it out, because y'all, this one might stump me. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go through my own little questions here. Hi, I'm back, by the way. My own little questions here. Number one, what phrases in this poem stand out to you? What phrases stand out to me? Well, I mean, I got to admit, death is a beige Mercedes sedan it's a metaphor, actually, since we're talking about metaphor today. Death is a beige Mercedes sedan is a metaphor here. So what has occurred in this beige Mercedes sedan is the first question I'm going to ask myself. I'm assuming it's an accident, which she refers to later in the poem. I am 5 and riding in the back, eating small white chocolates, my long thin body along the butter-soft red leather seat. Yeah, we get this very innocent image, right? She's sitting there just like, da-da-da, doop-a-doo, I'm having a great time. What I want is to become what I was before the accident. You know, I like that she separates these, because an implication I'm getting from this is two things. What I want is to become. Like, that's what she wants in that moment, to become. Like, she's 5 years old. She wants to, like, go experience the world, go become herself, become more. But then the line break here is very effective, because what it does is uses, as I talk about with line breaks later today, it uses something called enjambment, where it breaks mid-sentence for the line, like the line breaks over the course of a single unified idea, thus kind of splitting it into two ideas. So what I want is to become what I was before the accident. So now we have two meanings here, right? I want to become, I want to be a thing, and then I want to become what I was before the accident. And now we get this image that there must be some kind of, crash in this car, right? Like that seems like the logical conclusion right here. So let's keep going, because this second part I find really dense. You think I'm a rumor. Who's you here? Where does you come from? You think I'm a rumor. I move from one world to the next, living inside a mink-lined winter. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. A very lonely image here. It's a lonely girl. It's from a collection called How the End Begins. Interesting. I move from one world to the next. You think I'm a rumor? I move from one world to the next, living inside a mink-lined winter. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. For some reason, and I'm not sure why, this image, this phrasing, you think I'm a rumor, I move from one world to the next. I move from one world to the next, I'm going to say, is a phrase that stands out to me, right? And the reason I should make that actually consistently highlighted, huh? I should do that in yellow, like I did with the other one. I move from one world to the next stands out to me. So does what I want us to become, what I was before the accident. I move from one world to the next makes me think maybe maybe this car isn't where the accident was. Maybe the accident took her parents or something. I moved from one world to the next. Maybe we're talking about somebody who's in foster care, an orphan essentially. So that brings me to, I'm going to skip all the way to my last question. Why do you think the poem has the title it does? Because I'm going to hope that I can find some insight out of the title here. What does erstling mean? I know erstwhile, like apart, separated, erstling. Erstling. What does erstling mean in German? Oh, it's a German word too. Interesting. So, erstling, firstborn child. Interesting. Erstling means firstborn child. Hold on. I'm gonna do a second Google, because I wanna find out more about this. Does it have any implications, right? Does it have any secondary meanings? It also means first time. Interesting. It means first time. And firstborn. So it means first time, and it also means firstborn. Oh, interesting. I found an article on the poem. I won't read this first. So what I wonder is this the image of a firstborn child who has been through a terrible accident, right? And then maybe they don't speak or something like that? Or is this like a kid who's lost their parents in a car accident and is moving through, foster homes or foster care right now, or orphanages or what have you? Living inside a mink-lined winter is something I'm not sure what the implication is, right? Like, that's an illusion, right? Mink-lined, using mink coats. I think of older people when I think of mink coats. I don't know if it's an illusion technically, but what things are mink-lined? Raincoats. Lambskin. Yeah, it's a very fur-coaty thing, right? Living inside a mink-lined winter. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. I am 5 and writing in the back. Let's go to my other questions. What do you think the poem's subject... What are some of the poem's images? Do they seem to carry any emotion? Why? Well, some of the poem's interesting images are, I'm 5 and writing in the back, eating small white chocolates, right? My long, thin body along the butter-soft red leather seat. This first image, as I pointed out, is kind of a very innocent one, the squirrel. What I want is to become what I was before the accident. I'm a rumor. And then another image that I find incomprehensible right now, living inside a mink-lined winter. I move from one world to the next, living inside a mink-lined winter. Like this protected, right? Like this kind of like faux warmed coldness is what I'm picturing now that I'm thinking a little harder about mink-lined winter, right? Because mink lining is something on a coat to, presumably keep you more warm, but it's also very superficial. And would it really protect against winter itself? No. So she's living almost kind of like this clean-looking illusion. Now, if I'm using that interpretation, right? If I'm using that, she's living inside a clean-looking illusion. Suddenly, I go back to that first image, right? And suddenly, no longer does it carry that. I thought it carried this kind of innocent emotion, right? This kind of like carefree emotion. But now I think that is surface, right? I think that might be illusion here. So this is a lonesome kid wishing, maybe just a sad kid, wishing she could go back to what she was before the accident. I don't know what the accident was. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it made her now. A rumor, perhaps. A silent thing, a thing that is whispered in corners, moving around from one world to the next. Yeah, so here's what I'm getting out of this poem now, that I've taken some attention to the emotions the images carry, right? We get this innocent emotion that suddenly is undercut here, and then the next image, living inside a mink-lined winter, suddenly implies, do I have enough arrows, by the way? Suddenly implies, maybe things aren't so super for this girl, huh? Maybe things ain't so great. Okay, well, let me erase some of these, and while I'm doing that, I'll talk. Okay, so there's another image that stands out to me that carries a different emotion. And of course, you can probably all guess it's the one thing I haven't really talked about yet, the ending 2 couplets, the ending stanza here. Or the ending 2 stanzas, if you want to count it that way, which you should, because that's correct. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me, and we get a weirdly, after my whole interpretation so far being pretty grim, this kid who's maybe kind of broken and putting on a brave face or putting on this innocent illusion to stay the rumor that they want to be, because really what they want to be is what they were and have lost, right? Then we get this image of, again, kind of like God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. So maybe there's some hope here to return to that pre-trauma. I'm now making some guesses here. Pre-trauma identity, right? Maybe she's hoping to just become what she was, and that's how she's going to get it, right? She has a connection inside of her to a kind of pure innocence or pure childhood that maybe she can hope to get back. That's interesting. I like that. Let's use that. 3. What do you think this poem's subject is, and why? Well, it's a little girl riding in a Mercedes and kind of her inner thoughts. Little girl. It's easy, by the way, to look at. I don't know why I'm thinking it's a little girl. By the way, I don't think she mentioned gender, the speaker, but I don't know. The poet is a woman, which doesn't always mean the speaker is a woman. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just the worst. That's possible. I could be just a horrible sexist. Who knows? But I don't know. I think it's... Yeah, I shouldn't jump to conclusions there. I'll say a little kid. Stop saying little girl. It's good not to make assumptions that aren't totally supported, but I think other than that, I've actually been doing okay. I feel okay about this. So the poem's subject is the kid at its center, right? And why? Well, I mean, we've got IM5. It's the speaker as well, which isn't always the subject necessarily, but what the subject is this kid's ride in this car and our view of both outside and inside, right? We get an external view. In fact, it weirdly, it's even cinematic, isn't it? And it's cuts. Like we zoom or we push in from outside the sedan into the back. This kid eating chocolates, sitting on this seat, outside description, surface description, and then in what I want us to become. We see inner thoughts, right? What I was before the accident. And we see their accusations of others. You think I'm a rumor. I moved from one world to the next. You know, what's funny? I don't know if this is connected to you think I'm a rumor or if it's in response. I'll have to think more about that because we're getting a little long here. 4, what does the poem say about its subject? Does it draw any conclusions or seem to simply describe? Normally, I love a poem that simply describes and doesn't just try to be like, here's the lesson, idiot. But this, I think, kind of splits the difference, right? I think it describes this car ride of this young kid who's both external and internal life we get to briefly glimpse, right? But in those last 2 couplets, God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me, I think it doesn't draw a conclusion necessarily, but it counters everything before it, right? It counters that hopeless interior and gives it this little spark of life and hope. So this poem just says about its subject, it gives us an image of a young kid, both externally innocent. I keep saying innocent, and it's a weird word, but innocent as opposed to experienced, and here the experience obviously being negative. So innocent versus experienced. What I want us to become innocent again. And there is a quiet song inside me that gives me hope that I can. Now, why do I think the poem has the title it does? I don't know. Firstborn, first time. It means both, right? From what I looked up, right? But let's just say it means firstborn. Interesting. There's two ways to interpret that, isn't there? Firstborn, like when she is firstborn, and firstborn, she's the firstborn child. So here I get this, she's the firstborn child, she wants to become what she was before the accident, so maybe, again, she is totally alone here if she has lost her parents in this accident, and that's why the experience is so traumatic. Not that it wouldn't be if, you know, she had a sister to share the pain with or whatever. Again, I'm saying she, and I shouldn't be, but here we are. Let's just cut my losses and say I've drawn this assumption and I'm sticking with it. So she's the firstborn child. Maybe she also has responsibility for others, but it seems like she's alone. And maybe this is the moment wherein she is firstborn, right? Maybe she wants to become what she was before the accident, but she can't, right? She's moving from one world to the next, in that she's moving from innocence to experience. That's an interesting take. Let's think about that. She's moving from one world to the next, like from innocent to experience, living inside a mink-lined winter. And again, winter is an ending, right? Isn't it? It's an ending of the seasons. Spring is the beginning. So what if that is spring there? God's childlike voice singing quietly inside of me. What if she is being reborn here? She knows she can't go back. And maybe she's moving forward. Maybe it's even more hopeful than I thought. Maybe this is less a sad memory and more a transitional one. Hard to square that with the first line being, death is a beige Mercedes sedan, Mr. Benedict, but hey, you do you, my friend. So that's kind of it for me, right? Like, okay. Death is a beige Mercedes sedan. I'm 5 and riding in the back, eating small white chocolates, my long thin body along the buttered soft red leather seat. Boom, innocence, right? Maybe slam right there, the accident. Right there between what I want is to become and then what I want is to grow into something. Slam, car wreck. People in the front seat die. 5-year-old in the back seat, not die. What I want us to become changes now to what I was before the accident. Now we get that shift. You think I'm a rumor. I still can't figure that line out. So whatever, just imagine that I interpreted it brilliantly and I'm brilliant. But instead, yeah, sorry, I'm never going to get that one. Well, I will eventually, but not right now. I move from one world to the next. I move from innocence to experience. I move from pre-accident to post-accident. I move from pre-scar to post-scar, pre-trauma to post-trauma, pre-death to post-death, right? Pre-beige Mercedes sedan to post-beige Mercedes sedan. Living inside a mink-lined winter, living in this end that is coded in the surface fuzziness of beginning. God's childlike voice singing quietly inside me. The idea that I can move back to some kind of innocence, some kind of hope again, singing quietly inside me. Boom, right? Like, booyah. We have a decent interpretation. We did it, guys. All right, that's really cool. So, see how I kind of asked myself those questions, and at first I had no clue what this poem meant, but now I have a meaning that works for me. All it takes is a little bit of doing, a little bit of effort and close attention to language. How do these things connect? Now I have an idea of what the image means to me. And I'm going to say means to me because means, well, that's pretty subjective, isn't it? And I'm sure somebody out there would have a better interpretation that works better throughout the poem, but I think that's pretty good. There we go. We enjoyed a poem together. Let's go learn a couple of vocabulary words. Sorry that today's going to be a bit of a long one. But hey, we're all in this together. And we'll learn a little bit about some of those terms that I mentioned just now.